Hello everyone, welcome back to Monday's video. Crap job.
Is it?
Yeah.
What have you got to do?
These are the Figaro blocks.
Yeah.
So all we've got to do on the Figaros now is you've got to put the pistons on the rods.
Yes, I do.
And I've got to just finish hone that block and drill these two broken head studs or bolts out of that block, mate.
That sounds... yeah.
I've done one.
Done one?
They're buried about 1.5 inches deep.
Yeah.
So they're sort of down here.
So these come right out?
So they come right the way through,
bottom, yeah.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Because it means we can get the crap out the bottom.
Yeah.
But because they're buried, and they've obviously snapped off the top, so that usually we'd put a centre drill down.
Yeah. Or
get a centre drill as best we can. But getting down there and trying to get it in the middle of a broken bolt, not easy. So these clearance holes are 12mm. So I've got a 12mm drill. Now I'm sure there's going to be plenty of engineers that are watching this. Lifetime engineers that are going to tell me I'm doing it wrong. But it works, doesn't it? So what I've done is centred it, mate, zeroed it on the clock, and I'm just going to send this down. You can feel it get to the top of the stud where it comes to a halt, and I'm just going to put a bit of pressure on there. And what that's going to do, with a bit of luck, because you won't be able to see it there, but it has put a nice, it has a nice centre in the top of that stud.
So you sort of, using the walls of the hole, you've guided the drill
exactly.
onto the
That's what I've
centre.
done.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's what I've done, mate.
Not a bad idea.
No,
when you're in a pinch.
Usually works. So I've got my series of drills here. What I'm going to do now is put a little 5.5mm drill down there. Don't want to go too heavy because these are bloody hard. These.
How are they?
Yeah, these head bolts. So I'm just going to go nice and gentle. See if we can break through to the bottom of this stud. Not very nice. A little bit of the WD down there. Sounds nasty, doesn't it?
Not a nice noise.
So the reason I don't want to go too big on the drill to start with, just get a nice through hole, is because if it struggles too much, it will start to wunder.
Yeah.
And once it starts to wunder, mate,
Big trouble.
We've had it. So the most important step of drilling a stud out of any type is really getting that first pilot drill centred correctly.
Yeah.
Isn't it? We have so many people send stuff in here to be drilled out, studs, and they've had a go at it themselves. Worst thing they can do, isn't it?
Mess in it a lot of the time.
If they just leave it alone and let us start it, you're halfway there. But once they've drilled down and through the bloody side of it.
The thing is, a lot of them know that you've got to get it central, so they use the centre punch and all that, but then the drill starts wandering anyway. It's like, you sort of had a go, but it's gone through, is it?
We've gone through there, mate.
Nice.
It weren't very pretty, I know that.
No. Didn't sound very nice.
But we've had to slow it down. Usually these smaller drills don't mind going a bit quicker, but that didn't like it. So these are an M10 by 1.5 thread down here, or meant to be. So that means that the tapping drill for that thread is minus the pitch, which is the 1.5, so it would be an 8.5mm.
Yep.
So I'm going to go down now with a 7.5, and in theory that's going to leave, if it's central, that's going to leave 0.5mm of wall thickness in the stud, just before it gets to the thread.
Okay.
All right, and then.
What? That's looking a lot. Oh no, there it is. I thought it was going to go straight through it then.
Nicely. So we get quite a lot of phone calls off people, don't we?
Yeah.
And we get a lot of phone calls off people wanting a quote on an engine, for example, a van, something like that, funnily enough. And the first thing they say is, I've been on the internet and I've got a couple of prices. And we always warn them don't always go for the cheapest.
No.
Because some of the prices that some people are quoting, we know damn well, not only can you not recon the engine for that, you can't buy the bits for it, can you?
No,
for that
can't even
money.
buy the parts. So.
So today's thumbnail and title, mate, is exactly this. What has happened to this chap, isn't it? So an engine has come in this morning in bits from a garage who is a customer of ours, and their customer is the one that's been stung.
Yeah.
So this is a Transit 2.2 or 2.4?
I think so. It's one or the other.
It's one or the other.
Yeah, one of those.
So they've gone and bought an internet special for what? How much did you say?
I think he said he got it for 1,500 quid. So probably an eBay job, I would imagine.
1,500 quid.
Yeah.
Well, we know damn well that
recon, mind, apparently.
recon motor for 1,500 quid off eBay. Now, I ain't suggesting that everything on eBay is that. It's not the eBay thing. It's just that that's where they seem to advertise a lot of, because obviously a lot of people go on there. But there's no doubt about it. There are some companies that are out to sting people.
Yeah.
And it looks like this guy's been done.
Yeah, it does.
So we call them a recon in a can.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because they give it a nice paint job. They definitely add it to bits. But what have you come up with that is the cause for the issues that it's had, mate?
Well, the chaps, the garage that come in, when they dropped it off, they said it's picked up and wiped the pistons.
Okay.
You can see that sort of in number 3. It's all a bit scored up.
Yeah.
And basically, some of the oil squirters were blocked solid with silicone.
So we're assuming that when this guy's bought this engine, reconned, they've painted it in a lovely shade of green, which probably looked pretty trick with a silver head on it and a silver sump. Cool. And you think, oh, that looks a bit flash. They've made the effort. They probably painted it a different colour to make so people know that they've done it or done something.
Yeah, yeah.
But on first inspection, that number 2 bore's knackered.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like they've faced the block. That looks like a standard finish to me. It's
Yeah.
been blowing left, right and bloody centre.
Looks like it's had a little deglaze job as well.
It's had a deglaze. Hasn't had a rebore.
No. So the garage said that this had only done 500 miles.
500 miles.
That's not very far.
Not really. And that's what you get for your £1,500.
Yeah.
So there's definitely not 1,500 quid worth of bits in this, is there?
No, apparently there was some sort of Chinesey pistons and...
Now,
I don't know.
there are a lot of Chinese things that are pretty good.
Oh,
mate,
yeah,
isn't there?
but they said they looked like cheap. I don't know what they were, but that's what they sort of said. So, yeah.
So it's had a deglaze at best, this block has, and they put so much silicone on maybe the sump or the crank carrier or whatever that it's filled the pickup with silicone.
Must have done, yeah.
Caused a bit of
Bungery.
catastrophe. So the head's in Europe. This is the head and the crank. The head doesn't look like it's been faced to me, because when we face these heads, usually, because the width over here, there isn't really a cutter that you can have that's that wide. So what we have to do is go over on the main bit. When you get to here, so you say you've got the edge of the cutter there, we then feed over and you get a different angle of finish on there, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
And normally it looks like a bit of a step around this area, but it actually isn't.
Yeah.
But that just looks like a factory.
Yeah, it must be factory, because well, can't imagine they've got an enormous mill cutter, but they aren't reboring blocks. Do you know what I mean?
And looking at the ports and the actual valves here, I shouldn't think for 1 minute they've had them out, have they?
To be honest, when before we'd washed it and everything, all this was like the combustion chamber area was black as anything.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
You can see the amount of silicone here, look, on the front cover.
Loads there, isn't there?
Tons of it.
Christ. Because these have got like disposable front covers, aren't they? You're meant to get a new one when you
Yeah,
take
when
them
I
off.
buy, I get an engine kit for these. There's a couple of suppliers we buy the kits off these. We know they're decent parts.
Yeah.
And they stick a genuine front cover in with it. It's about 80 quid. It ain't worth messing about with the old one, to be honest.
When they're tin, aren't they? So
yeah.
they sort of bend when you take them off. So that's
they
probably
never
why
go back
they've
on.
stuck all that on there.
They've stuck the original one back on. And
yeah, it could even be off of that, I suppose, because that all falls down into the sump as well.
yeah.
So, yeah.
So, yeah, the crank looks a bit scored up. I don't know whether they've cleaned it properly or whether that is due to the fact that it's run without a bit of oil for a bit. Don't know.
Not good.
It's not great, is it?
No.
So, yeah, when people ring us up, go away, Lynn. When people ring us up for a price, we're not saying that, don't go for the cheapest to try and sell you the dream and get more out of you.
No.
We basically charge him the time it takes to do, the machining and balancing necessary, and a decent engine kit, really.
Yeah.
Another one that people have been caught out with is where they quote them low, and it's one of these drive-in, drive-out services.
Yeah.
One of our relatives got stung like that with a Sprinter. They quoted low. He didn't come to me first of all. Drove it up there. They give him a quote for say £2,000 or £2,500. They take the engine out, get it in a million bits, spread it all over the shop, and then give you a ring and tell you it's going to be about 2 or 3 times more than what they said originally. Then what are you going to do? He even went up there twice, wasn't very helpful, wouldn't know one to speak to him.
Yeah.
And he ended up buying an engine off us in the end. So, yeah, if it's too good to be true, guys, normally is. It's the moral of this one, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, unfortunately.
It's a shame, really, because there's a lot of people who aren't in the know about it, and they sort of think, oh, well, that's pretty good.
This is the trouble, but there is a lot of cowboys out there. Not everyone, mind. There's a lot of decent, reputable engine reconditioners still. But there are some absolute cowboys.
Well, you can't even really call them engine reconditioners. They're just sort of scrap merchants, basically.
They are really, aren't they? With a couple of decent rattle cans.
Yeah.
There we go, mate.
Bit of a shame. So we're going to go through that and
we're going to go through
it,
rectify everything, and do it how it should have been done originally. Right, so I've got an 8.5mm drill in here, mate, which is the tapping drill for the normal thread. Now, in theory, this is going to go through now into the beginning of the threads.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The reason these are seized in is because you've got an alley block, hard, nasty steel bolt, which is corroded in there. So the chances, even if we could get to those threads, normally if we drill a stud out, by miracle's chance we can sort of persuade the rest of the bolt out and save the thread. But I'm not even going to bother on this. No. So I'm going to run an 8.5mm down there. So we're in there. And what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to go straight down with the heli-coil tapping drill.
Right.
All right. The heli-coils are funny because it all depends on the thickness of the actual coil.
Yeah, the wire insert.
Right. As to what the tapping drill will be.
So now all of that bolt is gone.
Hopefully, mate.
Yeah, it should all be gone if you've gone down with that bigger.
So this is a starter tapping drill for the heli-coil kit. So it's got a taper on the end which should sort of follow the existing hole, which it seems like it is. There we go, look.
There's a bit of bolt.
So that is a bit of the old bolt there at the bottom that has just come out with that, which is nice. This is one of those jobs that I was even dreading over the weekend doing, mate. I just hate it. Hate it.
It's just
Well, it's because I don't
fact,
mind drilling a stud out when it's up near the surface, because there's a sort of an art to it, but this is horrible.
yeah.
Because you can't see anything.
No, that's it.
You know, and if
You're just
anything
sending a
goes a
drill
bit,
down a hole.
yeah, and if anything goes a bit belly up, you can't get down there to sort it out. It's just horrible.
Yeah. Well, you could literally scrap a block, or that block, couldn't it?
Yeah.
If it went wrong. You got the wire insert.
The wire insert going in there, and there's a tang on the bottom of the insert which locates into here, so the insert sits over there, and you wind it in from the bottom, and the rest of the threads follow it in.
You sort of have to keep a bit of an upwards pressure, don't you, when you're putting it in?
You do.
If you push it down, it skips threads.
That's right. We are pretty much nearly there, mate. That's it now, I think. And then what you do, just give it one sharp knock, and you can see the little tang come out down there.
Oh yeah.
And that's it.
Nice.
Job done. And in theory, this is just a bolt with the same thread. Winds in lovely, doesn't it?
Yep. Ideal.
Job done, so that is it. Yes, I'm happy about that. One crap job finished. Get me home. There we go, mate. On that good note, I think we'll end there.
Sounds good to me.
Have a lovely evening, guys. See you on Wednesday's video.